You hitting live now?
Stars among stars. We, lights, camera, someone. Carnival is a movie with women in the festival. Yes. Carnival is a movie with women in the bacchanal. Carnival is a movie with women with the pretty girl. Carnival is a movie, this one is international. Stars among stars. We, lights, camera, someone. Carnival is a movie with women in the festival. Yes. Carnival is a movie with women in the bacchanal. Carnival is a movie with women with the pretty girl. Carnival is a movie, this one is international. Stars among stars. We.
Check, check, check.
Yes. Good night, everybody.
Everybody on cue.
Yep. Good night. Good night.
Brothers.
Yep. Sure, when you gotta unmute your mic, I think. Still on mute.
Just catch myself.
Yes, bro.
Up
Hear
and
me loud
running.
and clear. Yep, up
Yeah.
and running. Yes. So tonight we gotta say a big welcome to the conversation. Tonight is gonna be quite an interesting evening. Make sure you share the live. Tonight we're gonna be talking about politics. But before we get into any kicks or tricks, we're gonna get to Selector Sherwin, who's gonna get straight into our disclaimer before we get into tonight's conversation.
All right, tonight, we definitely want to make sure that you guys have it clear or get it clear by disclaimer. All right. The views, information, or opinions expressed during this program are solely those of the host, guests, and callers involved in the program and do not necessarily represent the views of Majestic Music Radio, its management, or host, other hosts, or advertisers. Okay? Majestic Music Radio is not responsible and does not verify for the accuracy of any of the information contained in this radio program. This program does not constitute medical or professional advice and is solely for for entertainment purposes only.
All right. So tonight we've got an interesting discourse. Um, we got some an interesting direction tonight. Usually we haven't gone down the political rabbit hole, but definitely this evening we're definitely going to go down that political rabbit hole because we just have to ensure that information out there and stuff that's going on. We got to set certain things right, and we definitely as people, and when I say people, as Guyanese people, we have to really stop embarrassing ourselves um, to the rest of the world. In my estimation, we really need to stop embarrassing ourselves to the rest of the world, and you know, get things that should be in order in order. Um, we gotta put away a lot of childish, petty behavior. Um, as grown folks, we gotta put away a lot of childish, petty behavior, especially in the political arena in Guyana. It seems to be a little too much in terms of the childish behavior, and yeah, we gotta talk about those things this evening. Of course, for those people who would like to join the conversation, you can message us. Let us know what are your thoughts in the comments, as well as I think we're gonna allow a couple of people to come in and have their opinions tonight, because tonight is gonna be a very interesting conversation. So, Martin, we want to start off with the definition, since we're dealing with the issue of politics this evening. Let's start off with the definition of what democracy is all about. Let's edify the audience first before we dive head first into the conversation.
Mm-hmm. So we're running democracy. And
Hmm.
Malachi, I leave you to go ahead and read
Hmm.
the definition of
All right, so
democracy for our people.
all right, so democracy is a system of government by the whole population or all the eligible members of a state, typically through elected representatives. I repeat that again. Democracy is, and of course, this definition comes from the Oxford Language Dictionary. It says democracy is system of government by the whole population or all the eligible members of a state, typically through elected representatives. So that is the definition, or what we call, um, the definition of
All
the
right.
word democracy.
So
Well, that's all.
with basic understanding of the definition of democracy, right? Now, would you agree that in Guyana, or Guyana is function as a democratic country?
Um,
Do we function in
Guyana,
democracy?
I'll tell you what. Guyana is, in my estimation, striving to uh, become a full democracy,
Mm-hmm.
because based on our laws that were left since colonial time, there was no democracy back then during colonialism, as you know. So the whole idea of democracy is a concept of the people, but it is not fully um, recognized in for example, in the Constitution, in the laws and stuff like that, because they're old and they definitely need updating, and again need some tailoring to the people who live here in Guyana, to our environment. So I would say Guyana is a democracy in the hands of everybody, because a lot of Guyanese tend to lean on
Mm-hmm.
American law when they talk about Guyana and the democracy and the legal system. There is a comparative with the U.S. and Guyana, but what they have to also understand is that, of course, Guyana is not at the level, because we haven't changed much since colonialism in terms of the constitution and legalities and stuff like that. You still need a lot of changing, and of course, I've heard a lot of talk about referendums and all that, but it still needs a lot to go.
Mm.
Mhm.
Sherwin, what is your thoughts, my G?
Well, like Monica is saying, I think because of the new with the new uh generation that's popping up. I think the old ways and um, the old practices of thought, stereotype type of thought, instead of practicing democracy in the sense of knowing as a country that whoever is in place or being put in place, you know, we all find that type of mentality to just say, listen, from here on, I mean, we got to figure how to make sure we go through and
We work together. We work
work
together
together
as a
and
nation.
live
Yeah,
happily.
as a nation.
You know what I mean? And
Mhm.
find ways and means to with a togetherness to you know apply more that type of unity is going to apply more pressure to the leaders for them to say, you know what, we have no other choice, but we got to make sure that we practice and we deal with the people the way they should or it should be. I think Guyana is coming to that slowly because of the young folks in Guyana, but it's still a far away comparing to what the rest of the world or some of the parts of the world is heading to or already there.
Well, that's one of the things that I try to point out about the system um, that really needs again upgrading um, because we're kind of behind in a lot of regimes that should be in place, and we really got to look at those. You know how we do that, and Martin and I yourself have been always advocating for the development of the human resource capacity. That means they have to be properly educated because if they're not properly educated, we're gonna find recurring problems over and over and over. And some of those recurring problems would be some of the issues we see in the news and on social media that really in other countries that's not an issue, that's not a problem. But because we are so um, what do I call or describe the way we behave with our politics, we are so either pro or con. It comes over as a battle between between people instead of a battle of which policies really should be um, we should really be focusing on. Because a lot of the argument that we see on social media and stuff, it's not really about a policy or a policy direction. It's just about extreme petty um, petty slander and politicians just lashing out without proper thought. I mean, if they were really out there arguing about issues that were bread and butter issues on the table for Guyanese, I mean, you could understand. But when the issues are politicized to the point where you kind of lose the objective of what the argument is all about, you start to realize that, I mean, what is really happening in the politics overall in Guyana? And why I'm making reference to this is what recently happened in Brooklyn with President Ali. Um, I, I want to go back a little bit to when myself and Martin were at the first part of that meeting, which the president had early, was it last year? Late last year, sorry,
Yes, late
in
last year.
Queens. This yes, late last year in Queens, where I was there. Even the proprietor of the Hills was there. And I asked a particular question of President Ali regarding the IP law development. The proprietor of the Hills asked the president of Guyana at that time, President Ali, um, that she sees him going to Queens and having these meetings in Queens, and why uh, didn't he see it fit to come to Brooklyn as well? Because the Guyanese diaspora is just not focused in one area, as in Queens. So he was asked to come to Brooklyn. And I can see now that he decided, apparently, with this visit to the US, he will visit Queens and have a walkabout. And I think a lot of chaos and stuff that was really unnecessary played out because I don't think a lot of individuals were looking at how when I say we, I'm talking about we as the Guyanese at home and abroad, how we look as a collective to the rest of the world or to the rest of, let's say, America, looking on at what we're doing and how we're behaving, especially with the kind of behavior we've seen happen in Brooklyn when the president visited with what I thought was a pretty cool meet and greet. But then it kind of descended into chaos because some people felt that he should not have been afforded the time or the place to address any of the Guyanese in Brooklyn, which I thought was unfortunate because as a growing economy, you want to be able to reach out to everybody who actually belongs to your country and offer them the opportunity to come home and also to participate and to benefit from whatever developments are happening. So it was something that was to look at and to really do some introspect. And tonight we're going to be talking a lot about it, and we have some video and imagery of some of this stuff that happened. But you guys can have your take on what you believe overall. What was the problem? What created such a stir? I should say.
It's just another day, I would call it. You know what I mean? Um,
Yeah.
because the definite thing is all about morals and how you carry yourself, even
Mhm.
if you're working in a. So let me go back to where if you working in a company and you're working on the same level as another colleague, but the two of you guys actually put in for a promotion. Eventually, the person beats you to the punch, and they become or they got into the spot that is actually becoming your boss, right? Now, in such a way, is where you're supposed to exercise all your professionalism and all that you need to exercise to show that at the end of the day, you still have to come to work. You still have to function in the right capacity and in the most effective way within your job, knowing that the person that you was in that kind of a, you know, you guys was in that same push, but the person is now your boss. I mean, there's the same similar situation where you find why are we allowing politicians and bloggers and people that has or had past experience, personal experience with so many issues or have some kind of a hearsay? Because there's a lot of people that had
I call it the
no,
axe. I call it the axe to grind. It's the axe to
yeah,
grind. Bit.
but there's a lot of people that had no dealings, no level of some of the things that they're portraying, but it's just because of what they would have learned. I understand. So taking that bitterness and pushing it out there, and then I'm making it look as though that within this period of time that this person is gonna be my boss, even though I supposed to look at all the opportunities that I supposed to have, and as a leading or the person that was right next to him to push for the same glory, turn back and represent properly so
Mm-hmm.
that you can actually say, you know what? Yes, put it out there. I'm going to make notes and all these different things, and then we can hold the person at the word to say, okay, this is all that came up. You know what I mean? But it's like I don't understand why the push for hate, why the push for uh division, you know what I mean? Why the push for um blot out or blank out certain things. And then
Boycott.
but then at the same time you complaining that you ain't getting enough and you ain't but you did not get or you did not give yourself the opportunity
You're just
to
not putting yourself in the position where you
correct.
can actually do something to make a change for your people that you're claiming that this is what you want to happen. Where is
Right.
that move to make the change? There's no move to make a change.
Yeah, that's what I really don't understand, you know what I mean? But no, y'all know that I'm not a politician. One, two, y'all know I'm affiliated to no party.
You sure?
I am
You got that in a
very,
red hat.
I'm very, I'm very, in a sense, I am very strong towards representing the people and how much they should, they should be
No, well,
gaining
we,
from
we know that as
everything.
a fact, Sherwin, because I make reference to this. I was making a point on social media earlier, and it seems as though the mental level of some of our people is so um, low that if you make uh, uh, what is called a critical comment, which should be taken as critical thinking about a government thing, some people will say, "Oh, you're anti-government." If you make a comment that criticizes the opposition for their failure to really step up to the actual policy making and development and decisions, they then say, okay, well, then you couldn't be a part of them. You had to be a PPP. And, this is where, the level of immaturity and stupidity of some individuals who represent parties. And you kind of get I would say jaded or you get accustomed to it because it not only happens in Guyana, you could see it across the board, even in the US, because the individuals who are, for example, supporting um, Donald Trump, and they have an attitude of if it's not him, then it's got to be something wrong with the system, something is broken. So it's that kind of mentality that has caused our country to kind of get into the position it's in. And like Sharon rightfully pointed out, a lot of individuals who are peddling this ideology specifically um, are the ones who are one outside of Guyana. Um, they are not on the ground to let's say contribute. And what they're doing, they're derailing the younger people from actually looking at their country as a place that they should remain or return to and contribute to, which is a really, really crazy, funny thing. Nobody else does that. No other country I know, the people from that country, they operate in that manner. It's weird. It's very weird.
So this is where it comes in for me, right? Democracy overall is by the people, for the people. So we, as the people, elect who we want to be in charge of government,
Correct.
right? So that they could then go in place and work for the people. Which is why in America they tell you, you work for me. My tax money pays you to be where
Yeah,
you
that's
are,
right.
right? So
Yeah,
by the people, for the people.
all the people.
Now, the thing with Guyanese people is not all Guyanese people, of course, but the strong minded. I want to kind of want to say the older version, right? But I still can't put all the old people in a box. But they got the group who is steadfast in their ways, right? And they choose not to change, and they don't want to change. Now, the issue is this is why we see people like myself don't have communication with family members. We can't talk to our grandmother, we can't talk to our grandfather, or great uncle, and them thing. Anything past we mother, even in some cases, because a lot of people in my generation realize we parents in no jack squat. So they couldn't teach we jack squat, and we now gotta come and learn everything so that we don't pass down the same no knowledge education type mentality to our children. Right? So again, by the people, for the people. Now the event that took place in New York, and Malika, you mentioned, yes, we were there in the first half of the meeting where we witnessed, the question was asked why the president only visiting one place, and why the people who put them in place, remember, they are there for the people. Now, if you don't come out and ask a question, or you don't come out and put in your request, then how they gonna know that you need assistance in said area? You understand?
Or if they're welcome to come to that particular area.
So the invitation was put out last November, I believe. Right?
Yes, last November it was.
October, November, somewhere around there. The invitation was extended. The president responded, well, I promise on my next visit, I will be there. And I can't visit everybody. But when I come back, I will visit Brooklyn and the people, the Guyanese people in Brooklyn.
Correct.
And I saw when he traveled this time, he visited Brooklyn. And I personally thought, well, and look at this. This is a man by the people, for the people. Right? Because he now gave his word, and I, as a man,
kept his word. Yeah, he kept it.
Exactly, could respect that.
Yeah, could respect that.
It's like, man, I can't have anybody in authority who can give the word, and when they do give it, can't stand behind it. And that is what this man did. So me, as me being a man, respect that. Me being a Guyanese citizen, have greater respect for that. Unfortunately, we wasn't around for the second meeting because obviously we got things to do. But it went off, and it went off in a very distasteful manner.
Distasteful, very distasteful.
Right?
I mean, it's tantamount to basically shaming Guyana with the type of behavior.
Correct.
That some people went on with. For example, there was one part of it where a gentleman was shouting from the background at the president. I don't know if I don't know if Guyanese fully understand the protocol of a president, but if like some people always mention, if that was let's juxtapose it. If it was Fort Burnham and he had gone to Brooklyn, would somebody be standing in the background shouting any sort of insult to him? All right, as the president of Guyana.
Even if they did, it wouldn't have ended very nicely.
Well, we know it wouldn't have ended nicely because really and truly, the protocol would have been to remove that individual from
force.
By force from the area, and quickly remove them by force from that area. That was not done. Other individuals said, "Man, yo, you can't disrespect the president like that. I mean, regardless of your personal views, you've gotta respect the president of your country." And that was, in my estimation, shameful. That reflected very negatively on us as a community, and I don't think a lot of people really looked at it from that angle. They may just looking at it from the standpoint of, okay, we're getting to vent in our self gratification of it. But because of whichever political side we were on. But let's look at the overall view of how other people are looking at us as a community, and you realize that you just embarrassed us overall. All right. And then we had, for example, we had several lives where people were saying all manner of stuff. Um, I happen to have first-hand information on one of the individuals who, you know, was involved right there at the Hills.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they had an event there, a charity event there. They were welcomed there. They were well taken care of by the proprietor of the Hills as well. And then, due to um, politics or political affiliation, because of the proprietor allowing the president to drop in and say a few words, you know, a whole myriad of chastisement and statements of boycott started to come out, and I looked at it and laughed because I was like, this is the way these individuals behave and basically cannibalize themselves because the proprietor of the Hills is not outright supporter of the PPP at all.
Mm-hmm.
A matter of fact, she has been a long-standing PNC person who has facilitated several, including the visits from the opposition leader to New York City. So it is really funny to look at, at how we as Guyanese behave. And, and now that this situation has popped up where one of their very own, they're also attempting to cannibalize her because of her acting in what I would classify as a sensible manner and not behaving idiotic
Mm-hmm.
Let me
at
let me
a point
say
in time. You know,
let me say something. Listen, the democratic
go ahead.
world, the democratic world has been filled or full of surprises during the past few years, right?
Yeah,
Um, where you think the mind of the people is, that's not where the mind of the people, because people have been driven into a space of disgust and not accustomed being or not being stereotyped anymore. They start because of social media, right? There's a lot
mhm,
of things that turn the whole thing in a 360. We could take it for example, the party that is currently the ruling party of Jamaica has never been in power or was never the real power party back in the day. But
Mm-hmm.
back in the day, they were run by the other party that used to be, what I mean, continuously. Um, they had that kind of a whole stronghold on the people by, saying coming in and dealing with them a certain way. But as people minds are open in the sense of the media world and also information coming through social the internet, whatever, people start getting a different wavelength of understanding where they really at, who's making sense and who's not making sense. And that's how people's mind are changing. If we notice especially the last local election in Guyana, it was a total 360 of surprise of how the minds, especially of the youths, was in that country because everybody's looking at how are we moving from point A to point B,
Mm-hmm.
right? Now, I'm not saying, like I said, I can't stand up and ask each and every individual, what's the reason you do that? Are you stupid? Every man has his own power of choice. Even God give us a power of choice to say, you want to serve me or you don't want to serve me. But of
Mm-hmm.
course, that's your choice. We all need to give that respect to each other, you know what I mean? And especially when it comes to ethics and all these different things, we as I would say, as Guyanese, we were well known for one of the countries that was known and is very great when it comes to ethics, hospitality, and all these different things. So if even somebody comes to your home that you know for sure is not of you, you definitely will still make sure that that person feel
At
somewhat
all.
comfortable until you listen to whatever it is. Sometimes you get the real deal of what you wanted to know. You get the knowledge of what you wanted to know, or you get things sorted out the way you wanted to sort it out for all the years that you've been thinking left instead of right. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? So I think that's one of the problems that a lot of people can't come to grips with is just that this kind of global change, the global frame of mind of especially the youths that's coming around today. They ain't got time with who is stalwart and who is they don't remember that, you know. All they look at is what who is making sense on spot, who's ready, who's trend, who's coming out with something that makes sense that I could say, yeah, man, this is something I could deal with.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's
Well,
what I feel.
Well,
me
go ahead,
being a
man.
youth, right, and not far from a teen, I could speak directly on that because I know for sure back in the days, I've seen my mother struggle, right? Well, I grew up in a single parent home, so we already had the dads in the house. My mother got raised 5 children by herself, right? Work as a seamstress, then she opened a snack it. She got a job at the teachers training college. She worked in the canteen in there. She migrated to Barbados, left her children, right? In the name of betterment's sake. Because obviously, if you leave over, you get extra money. So she left all 5 of her children, her youngest being pretty much not far from a newborn, right? So that we could be here today. And the same story goes across Guyana in most households.
Yep.
Yeah.
Now, me being an adult with my own kids, me want left me children none at all. No one time. When I started making children, I never had the thought of I will up and leave and go to this country and raise money, or I will go do this here and your mother gonna look after y'all and them sort of thing. That wasn't in thought. It was actually opposite. Me being in the entertainment industry, it is very tedious. You can't really carry children around with type of work. But trust me, where I could carry y'all, y'all gonna come. Right? So that is my understanding of growing up from then to now. Now, in the terms of Guyana, I could tell you, and I've said this multiple times, I know about walking through the mud. Not more than 5 years ago, the area that I grew up in, and I'm 30 this year. So the area that I grew up in not more than 5 years ago, just get road. Nice tar road. Right? So we don't have to go through the mud. My children don't have to have that experience that I had. Because in my time, and I could tell you, I grew up right behind the PNC office. The headquarters where I'm getting in Sophia area there. I grew up right behind here. Literally. You understand? So I know about walking miles. Well, me mother in this case, when I was super young, walk miles with me on Shabbat, my sister in Shahan, my brother in the other hand, and she treading through the mud to get to the head of the PNC office to wash her foot. This is my experience growing up as a baby. Right? When Sophia area developed, then obviously we didn't have to walk that far, but we still had to walk out to the road front, the Dennis Street road front. So we could wash our foot by the people in front there, which was a political member or candidate, right? Under the auspices of the PNC. Now, I am not a political person, or at least I wasn't. I didn't have any aspirations of getting into politics. The only thing about politics I honestly remember is And one match day when we on the road and the song was playing, Desmond Height is the matter for the man, Desmond Height is the man, and everybody gyrate with the flags and behind the big truck, and we had fun. That was my only political memory. My mother ain't grew up or didn't raise me in no political environment because she was busy working. And like I said, the father wasn't around. So when it comes to politics, I have no clue, or I had no clue. Until my brain started clicking and when people telling me, you know about rice mar water? Yes, I know about rice mar water.
So porridge. So porridge and rice, man.
Well, you see, that is if you could afford flour, my G. Because I knew there's times, and I can't lie, it tastes good for some reason, right? Some sugar and some rice mar water. It do taste good. I can't lie to you. But I know of that experience. I know about the plantain flour and the caramel, right? And I also knew when my mother was able to travel in this name of betterment, right, for your children, we moved from the rice mar and the stuff. But I could tell you, Malika used to have oil in your house all the time.
Who, me?
Yeah.
I didn't grow up. Unfortunately for me, I didn't grow up in Guyana, so I didn't know.
So you had oil. You see, you better.
Malachi
Sure, when you had oil, you had oil in your house.
When I started in the days when I really like start putting my thoughts together, because to be honest with you, I living in
Borbies. You didn't even cook.
No, living in Borbies. Me, I had an auntie that used to do the running, so I had everything, boss.
See?
Everything.
So it's only me alone who come from the Polish lifestyle.
The runnings was what used to pass through, so everything used to drop off.
Even in Borbies, you was able to make coconut oil. We ain't had them luxury damagy. And I is a black as this call it. Right? Right behind the PNC headquarters living. We ain't had, I remember when the aisle done, you gotta go and boil your strumagy. If you're cooking pumpkin, you're boiling that out. You understand me? If you're cooking cabbage and belange thing, you're boiling it, Maji, until it simmer down. So imagine cooking without oil, without butter.
No, you know what I think is funny, right? It's like I'm trying to figure out, like, I mean, you would come out and say certain things, like certain truths. But the aspect that there's totally funny is that you find a lot of people out there. They don't, for some reason or the other, they will not come out and actually say the truth. For some reason or the other. And I'm wondering in my mind. Because I'll tell you why. Because as you know, we know a popular comedian who we were in a conversation, and this comedian literally said that they prefer
go back to them days.
Back to the days of rice mar
and they retired it upstairs, Maji.
Right now, I'm thinking in my head, I don't think rice mar and flour porridge can sustain children.
No, sir.
You know, at a certain nutrients level, so that their brain could work at maximum capacity, because flour and rice is basically one element, and that's starch. I don't know how your brain is gonna be able to retain. And this is what I think. No, seriously, this is a serious issue.
What's the cow milk in the mix one?
Well, like what time we used to teach cow milk?
Well, but I think, remember, I always say this thing on the program in the morning. I think it was the rice.
Yeah.
Remember I used to tell you, right?
So it makes sense when you look at the starch level.
Right, exactly. Because you can't, there is no population with brilliant individuals who are fed starch, my bro. All right? And this is something the Guyanese have to come to grips with, that regardless of how they try to twist and turn, there was a segment. In other words, back there was a generation that were actually malnourished. Yeah, understand? They were eating flour porridge and rice mars. Although they would like to say yes, it is some way in our greater development, but and for us to grow and eat what we grow and all of that. But you couldn't just focus on rice, mara, flour, porridge. So that's where the problem. And if you couldn't get the basics, that means that you will be malnourished and your children will be malnourished. So when they go into school, it will be difficult for them to retain. And this is the problem we have over time in Guyana. I believe that this is the problem we have over time because the behavior of some individuals that we see out there only points to one issue. It couldn't be that you weren't taught properly. Yes, you probably could have been taught properly, but your ability to retain that information, to learn, is where you couldn't do it because you're malnourished. Exactly, you're malnourished. You know. So before we get too far, I have there's a video clip circulating online. All right. Um, well, we know the president. He went to Pam's Bakery. He was shaking a roti in a bucket. He clapped a roti. You know, one politician was making a very disparaging comment about if he did he sanitize his hands and all of that before he touched the roti, which I thought was extra immature. I mean, he really didn't have anything to say,
That's
but
petty.
yeah, right. You had nothing to say, but you had to go extra immature. But let's look at that video as a reply because I think President Ali, I think they put this up as a reply. I don't know if it was from the office of the president exactly, but let's look at this video because I think it really it gets to the crux of what is really happening. So play that
It seems
video.
like President Irfan Ali's visit to Brooklyn has stirred strong emotions and racism among operatives of the PNC. Such emotions and racism had led some of them to call for the boycotting of African Guyanese businesses in Brooklyn.
Boycott those businesses. Do not support those businesses.
Brooklyn. How I mentioned Brooklyn again is because I wanted to tell Stan publicly because Stan is my friend and every time I talk to Stan, he going for buy bread or butter flop. And Stan was he went yesterday and buy the same roti what Ali shake up in bucket or day before yesterday. And look, Stan is you talking to. I call you out per Facebook. I want you to tell me out here if you went and buy the roti or not. I'm listening for you if you're going back and buy more roti.
In response, President Dr. Irfan Ali condemned the verbal assault and the targeting of the businesses of these innocent Guyanese by these PNC APNU AFC activists.
I found myself compelled to respond tonight. Not because I want to respond to any individual, for I have no time on my agenda to waste behind racist, separatist propagandists. I have no time in my agenda to lose energy behind those who cannot see anything from a different window than the window of racism. If you have something against me, come after me with all that you have. Point all your guns and weapons to me, but leave the people out of this. Do not seek to destroy the lives of ordinary people.
It seems like President Irfan Ali's visit to Brooklyn has
Yes.
That I think was an interesting composite. Whoever put that together, that was pretty interesting.
Smart lad.
Big- Yeah, smart. Because what I think overall it was trying to point out was what was and you saw the clips. I mean, talking about the roti in the bucket and that kind of stuff. I don't understand. I mean, we we as both Africans and Indians, we don't know about eating with knife and fork. We know about eating with hands. We
Exactly.
know about preparing food with our hands, right? So I don't understand. I think some people just conveniently use some really
No,
immature.
I'm not speaking from a political point of view, nor
Yeah.
trying to get into the mix up on the bunks about, right? But I'm speaking in the
Bangaran.
yeah, but I'm speaking in the sense of uh all of us as a people, you know. Um it's time we come down to the levels of finding better topics and better things to push forward. Find ways of how you can actually advise people in many ways with your knowledge. Some people that I know that is doing a lot of these blogs and all of that, they're very much educated. They know they
Hold
have
on. Don't be lying. No,
no. What I'm saying in the sense of they're
sure it. These people grew up with rice smar. So it's
You gotta
impossible
understand.
that
You
they
gotta understand. Okay.
retaining anything in the
The
upstairs
retainers,
there.
bro.
all right,
Tell
cool.
you there's a
Then
problem with the retainers.
but in any case, what I would say though, need to come to that place of being more professional, having better morals in delivery. Um, and of course, if you can actually bring out some topics and also bring out pointers, or give some people some valuable or valuable reasons of why you're saying X, Y, and Z. You know what I mean? Instead of making it more as such personal, because look at this.
It's not even personal, sure. It's just immature.
The
It's not even
person that
personal.
you see as a star today, but just because that person be like Jesus, pass everybody and went to the fisherman, right? You're supposed to see him as the outcast right away. So the same as this. This person you see as a star, invite the president, which is somebody that is actually running your home country. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
A place where you can actually sit down and find out and ask the questions. Because, for example, now if we sit down with this frame of mind of beating and bitterness and fighting with each other and pushing away each other from what is going on presently and who is actually presently running Guyana. Suppose they're running Guyana for the next 4 decades, or the next 3 decades, or the next decades. You're telling me that everyone should miss that space and don't figure how can we capitalize so
How
that,
can they get in and contribute and make a better way and a better life for themselves and
of
their
course,
family?
capitalize on what you can do. If you want to do it, go back home and do it, or what you can gain, because there's a lot of gains you can actually. There's a lot
A
of people.
lot.
Let me tell you something. There's a lot of guys that I know that is quiet, and I'm telling you of my descent, African descent, Indian descent, even people of Chinese, Portuguese, all that belongs to Guyana. They realize that they could go back home and invest and get into some sort of business that is going to make them, or they will be successful in some sort of way, and is doing it right now and going crazy. Because I give, for example, personally, I have an uncle that went back home and is into real estate. He went back home after with zero. He just left and said, you know what? Within the next so much years, Guyana is going to be at a different level. And if you don't start
Because
now,
he
you
understands
cannot
the opportunity
you
or
cannot
how to
catch
catch.
up when it reaches to that
Yeah,
period of time. And
exactly.
as I continue listening to people just continue grinding each other from political views and point of views, and steering the
They
real
missing the
essence
point.
of what you could tell the
They missing
youths,
the
yo, you got money, go find a way that you can get into that thing, deal with
invest.
such, you know what I
Create
mean?
your business, your ideas, be an entrepreneur in this environment. There's so much to be created. You have an entire continent speaking different languages. You could get into translation. I don't hear the individuals in the African community talking about these very vital um, parts of development. All I hear them talking about is, oh, we're not getting handouts. Oh, the government doing this. Oh, the government doing that. What about setting up opportunities for you and your people? It's not about just talking a set crap that don't make no sense. People looking
But that's
to
what I'm
live a
saying.
life and develop.
What is the remember, I'm not coming from a political view, but I'm saying, what is the opposition doing to put the situation in such a place that everything has to happen on an equal or a level basis instead of complaining? What are they doing to say that, okay, because of us, we're making sure that we represent the people that is supporting us? You know what I mean? Instead of saying, oh, boycott everything, run away, don't do this, don't do that, and everything. But you seeing when the time
But
comes for fun and entertainment, you seeing people going out there and having fun the same way, enjoying themselves the same way, and better you turning back and say, well, why missing out on the fun for? And end up going to the same fun. So you rather go
well,
and gyrate than go and find some way to capitalize and gain.
no,
You
you
know what I
see,
mean?
they're not looking. Their real true job, sure, as the opposition, is to look at the policies and also look at the way it is affecting the population and to provide some measure of guidance to the government in terms of their policy making and
Mhm.
the things that they're implementing in as a government. However, we don't see that happen. What we see more is more who's controlling the oil and we're not getting enough money from it
Big,
and that
big
kind of
percentage.
childish type behavior. Yeah, really. And kind of like I said before, and we pointed out on the video clip that just passed. It's not about, for example, if they were really interested in policy changes, I think the question would have been to President Ali when he turned up in Brooklyn. It should have been from the perspective of what are you doing in terms of the expats who want to return, people like, for example, the proprietor of the Hills, who may want to have a Hills restaurant in Guyana. What are you doing? Are there grants available for companies who want to come in? Guyanese from the diaspora who are coming in to invest money? Is the banking system capable of helping them to basically level up to that platform where they can have a franchise in the country of their origin? From that perspective, let's talk business, how we're developing ourselves as Guyanese, more than the whole aspect of, oh, use a PNC or use a PVP or or anybody who is critical, because this evening some people who are going to look at the live, whether now or later on, they're going to say, oh well, they're taking sides. I've never actually taken a side. A matter of fact, my uncle is Dr. Walter Rodney, so I was never in the PNC nor in the VP. So I don't understand why. This is what I mentioned earlier. If you're a critical thinker and you offer another frame of thought, what happens with both sides? Well, more so with the APNU AFC side, is that you have individuals that will come at you and say, "Oh, you got to be a PPP if you say this." But the reality of the situation that's staring them in their face is that the promises and whatever in terms of what their political party promised to deliver, it didn't deliver. And the PPP now with President Ali is attempting to deliver. And one of those things that we noted earlier is that the fact that he said in November last year, listen, when I come back to the US, I will be visiting Brooklyn. And the man stood to his word.
Mm-hmm.
So, in my estimation, I tend to pay attention to people who stand their ground and stand on their word. I don't know about other individuals, but I think it's a
My
very strong
opinion, my
with
opinion about
that.
politics in here, though, right?
Mhm.
Like I said, for the better function of Parliament in Guyana, I believe that, and for the better function of democracy in Guyana, this is my opinion, right? I believe that both parties have to see the box of certain politicians in their clique. And when that happens, there is an optimistic way that I feel that it might get to a different level, or it might be smoother than it's really supposed to be. Of course, any government goes into power, there's going to be hiccups, there's going to be ups and downs, and like I heard one guy said, no matter what you do, whichever one of them go where, they gonna you still have to do you still have to go to work, you still have to do everything that is required of you.
As
Right?
for now,
Everything that's required of you. And of course, they're gonna make decisions from time to time that even you as a supporter would not be happy about, right? But at the end of the day, you want to make sure that whatever is going on in the country, when you reach or whenever you're ready to go out, be it your whatever you look like in the face, when you're ready to go out, you make sure that you turn up with all. Don't turn up to say or complain. Turn up with all that is required of you, so that when you see you put that out there, they gotta really battle with you to say, let me turn this dude down. But some people wanna find ways, oh, it's because we cannot continue complaining. We gotta continue to find ways and means of understanding how we can get around and work around. Because like I said, if it was APNU AFC or the PPP, there is a possibility they can go for a long duration of period of time ruling. Same as for the next party.
If it was
Whoever.
Najee. So
You know what I mean?
let me ask, right? Most likely Malachi gonna know this also. What party was the first party ever established in Guyana?
PPP.
The PPP is the first one.
Right? And obviously we all know of the separation
Correct.
between the two guys, right?
Yeah.
And then we had the PNC. Now, how long was PNC in office compared to PPP?
Well, based on the balance, you got 28 years of Forbes Group. And then you have another, I think it's 5 or 6 years of Desmond White. Then in 1992, you have the PPP, which lasted for 23 years. Then they were voted out. APNU AFC came in, and now there's now the return of the PPP. So actually, the PNC is ahead. Yeah, they have been ahead in terms of length in governance of that.
Of course. How much years of independence we celebrating this year if you got the point head top? 50 somebody. I think we did 57.
57, yeah.
Right? So in 57 years, Najee, with one party, and my mother is actually 50, 54, 55, somewhere around there. I'm sure mommy don't think, but you know, you're up there. So my mother would have been as long as the independence celebration, or almost, right?
Yeah.
And all my mother honestly have to her name, brother, listeners, viewers, is one house lad. That is it.
Yeah.
One.
Well, a lot of trust me.
House lad.
A lot of people, and I can tell you this: a lot of people are not that fortunate, you know, on the regimes.
Well, let me
know,
tell you how we get this house lad. I got story for days, eh? So, what I understand is, like I said, we live directly behind the PNC headquarters. And when my mother left her father's house, she pretty much had nowhere to go, so she went to stay by her aunt. Her aunt, obviously my mother coming in lady house with children, right? At that point it was my older sister, and she was pregnant with my older brother. So she come in the people's house with baggage, not just herself, but two others. And my aunt said, well, you got a little certain time to get out because you're a woman and two women can't live in the same house. So my mother had to go and find. And when on her search, this is where she found the very nice madame pot that lays or used to lay behind the PNC. And she settled there. I could tell you, I grew up in a 10 by 10 plywood zinc top house. And it is funny to even call that a house because I know what a house look like today. But I grew up on the same piece of land in a 10 by 10, surrounded with mosquitoes, bush, and everything else in between there. Right? Now, back in them days, it was easy to go and squat. The people encourage you, if you ain't got no place to go, you go down and squat. Later on, we will give you all your title. Now, keep in mind, the PNC have been in power for almost all my life. Right?
No.
And they would have told my mom and everybody else within the Sophia community, and people in Sophia could tell you all the same thing. The PNC tell them, y'all go and settle and we gonna give you your paper later on. Now, my mother got her papers under the PPP government, which would be the one time, as Malachi mentioned, that the PPP was in power. Right? Today, 2024, last year, 2023, we still see people squatting in Guyana. In all beautiful Guyana, people still squatting. Now you telling me all them years the PNC gonna go into office and say, how much people you got? So much over 1,000? Here's what happened. For the next 3 weeks, we gonna sign off everybody. How is it possible that the Indian people was able to get all of this land, acres and acres of land, rice land, cane land, this land, that land, and black people ain't got no land?
This
serious,
Bro.
Run the disclaimer for them, man. I know starting.
Listen, the views, information, or opinions expressed during this program are solely those of the host, guests, callers involved in the program, and do not necessarily represent the views of Majestic Music Radio, its management, other hosts, or advertisers. Okay, so make sure you know these views are coming from. Majestic Radio is not responsible and does not verify the accuracy of any information contained in this radio program. Okay.
Well, I like your disclaimer, but I could verify me information. This is me story. It's like, man.
Yeah. I verify.
I could verify me information. Today, my mother hold a title for a decent piece of land. Now, she was smart, right? She paid $21,000 for this piece of land back in the days. Very nice and cheap. I wish we could go back to them days, honestly. I got a mind like a coolie. I want everything, right? But I want enough so that my children could be able to benefit at the end of the day, right? At this point, I'm sitting at almost 30 years old. I got 4 children. I need 4 acres of land. Me care which government signing it.
You gotta go need back down for the one, boy.
But this is the thing, right? Guyana got so much land that 800,000 people can't afford to get 100 by 100 house lot. The vagrants can't afford to get house lot.
Yeah, everybody.
You understand me? But
Everybody.
yet, we want to go and squat on our ancestors' land. Now, in which world, right? In which world would your ancestors, and I'm talking from the black eye, you see my skin, right? And note, the color of the jacket is not the color of the skin. So when I talk, me talking from a blacker. Because I don't believe I've ever seen a black man yet in my life. You understand me? So in which part of the world do we believe as Afro-Guyanese we should be squatting on our ancestors' land? Because what? We or them used to work there in slavery time? That don't make no sense, people. None, it don't, I almost 30. I went to college. Enough of y'all get degree. Enough people in Guyana get degree. Inside of Guyana, outside of Guyana. Tell me which part of the world or which part of Guyana do you want to go squat on a piece of land? It don't add up. It don't make sense. When you country, as we disclaim it as patriot, so big and so beautiful, but we can afford to see the Chinese come and buy out and build up 101 Chinese restaurant and build this, and we're doing, even in development, 2024, gas to energy project, and we're doing this, and we complain about blackout. We're doing so much development. Hotel and mansions and this and that. But yet you want to go squat? Which part do make sense? Which part do you want to go back to drinking rice water? Because we barely get cows, so me don't even know where the cow milk can come from. So which part do you want to go back to them? Right now. Which part do you want to go back to their mentality though? Because I think it was last year when the government would have root up a few people in order to build the highway. And keep in mind, I ain't a part of PPP, I ain't a part of PNC, I ain't a part of AFC, nor whoever. I is a man with a brain who didn't drink a lot of rice water, even though I loved it. Right? Now, plus I used to mine chicken, so I probably had enough protein there. You know, balance it out.
You used to get your veggies, too? You used to get your veggies?
I could tell you, my neighbor used to plant Belange, and they used to hand me hand over by my neighbor. Until the
clip. Well,
no, but on a serious note, why is it that when just recent, because the government asked people to come off of the squatting land so we could build a nice 4-lane highway because we all got a problem driving in with nice fancy car that suddenly everybody could afford for some reason. Why is it that you don't want to build a 4-lane road and you complaining it is did your ancestors give you that land? Because my ancestors too were slaves. I could tell you my history. On my mother's side, my great-great-great-grandfather is a white man, fully white. You understand? He was a slave master. And on my father's side, his dad, great-great-great-granddad, was one of the Moors who kidnapped the slaves. You understand? My great-grandmother, she could tell you if she was alive about her slavery experience. So I don't understand why we have a group of people in Guyana complaining about our ancestors. My ancestor was never want to see me punishing. I don't know which part of Africa y'all came from, but my people don't want to see me punishing.
Well,
and this is the honest truth.
This is like a funny thing with our people. Like we believe for some reason, it's about a struggle and punish. There's a vibes that like Guyanese like is like a locking, and this is why I reference Stockholm syndrome, right? Because and for those people who don't understand the definition, let me kind of break it down in layman terms. If you get kidnapped, right, and your kidnapper tortures you, punishes you, does you all kinds of stuff for years, and then after years, your mind just goes into, okay, this is my life. I gotta accept this, and you start to go along with your punishment. All right. So that is what basically is Stockholm syndrome, and I think that in many cases, Guyana is caught in that very Stockholm syndrome because people are not realizing what is actually happening to them. If you understand what I mean, they're not understanding
Now, the thing is, Malachi, how you get open you and see what happening to you, Maji? Were you lacking vegetables or something? Because me not understanding, if I started, me mother's 50 something, y'all is over 40 something,
Mm-hmm.
why the middle generation and above can't understand what is happening? I better have today than yesterday. Even in 2024. But you want to be better off in the 90s? How that make sense? You understand? How does that make sense? Which part of the 90s was beautiful? Because all I would have heard is complaints from the older folks. How back in the days, I could tell you, I grew up in a very nice community, a very nice neighborhood. I do believe in by the people, for the people. I do believe in the community aspect of things. It takes a village to raise. There's a village raised me. That's why I could come out and talk today. You understand me? But I was also raised in a village in the same area behind the PNC headquarters. Because, remember I tell y'all, my mother went there. My mom was one of the first person in that community to get a piece of land or to go and squat, right? As everybody encouraged her to do. The problem is when the PVP come in power and give everybody their papers, the black people sell out their land, Maji. Now if you get, my land is 168 feet by 28. So it's a super land. We could fit 3 big houses on it. You understand? Remember as a black, but we ain't shop it. We could fit 3 big houses on it. And if everybody have the same amount of land, and actually my mom land is half of what everybody else or majority of the people in the community have. Because it's supposed to be from front to back. My mom only got the back part. If she had another 21,000, she would have had the front part. But the coolie people had the sense to say, yes, what happened, let me take it off your hands. You got your paperwork? Let me take that off your hands. How much you want? Let me, rid you of your burdens. Because I could tell you, my aunt, who was supposed to join with my mom, didn't want to join up and put her 21,000 because she said she ain't got any no Sapphire area that she got walk, Key and Field and them side of thing. And my mom said, well, and my mother take she little half money and get half land. Yes, but she was smart. Now, I grew up, my neighbor on the left is an Indian, my neighbor on the right is an Indian, my neighbor behind me is an Indian, the neighbor in front of me is Indian, people down the road is Indians. We didn't, as much as we punished, we didn't punish because we were able to farm. Now there were some good things that Borinum passed down, Plant your own and thing. I grew up in the agriculture field. That whole land yard that I tell you about just now, it was chicken farm and vegetables. You understand? And we sustained ourselves. The only thing we actually had to buy back in the days was flour, rice, sugar, salt. That was the most important thing that my mom said, in your household, you need these things. Because we could always go in the garden and pick with vegetables, with fruits and these side of thing. You understand me? Mm-hmm. I can't go back, Maji, to a 10 by 10 household. Me never. Why would I want to do that?
Well, before we get too in depth, gotta say good night to a couple of people on the live. Gotta say good night to Stacy Mack, got in the live, and of course the big artist himself, Negas, checking in. Good night to you guys in Canada as well. Mr. M. Wilson says, I disagree a lot with the stuff you guys are saying. Well, Mr. Wilson, we can agree to disagree, but at the same time, it would be healthy if you could provide evidence that maybe goes against what it is that we're saying, or disputes what it is that we're saying. because when we say something, we also kind of have the evidence. So we're not just coming on online to maybe spread propaganda or stuff like that. That's not our objective. The objective is to look at things from a critical standpoint and not from any political standpoint. We're talking about politicians and their behavior, and we saw that in recent time. We're talking about just a few days ago. There was a very, um, it was really uncouth type behavior by our
Disturbing.
people. Yeah, which kind of reflected really negatively overall. And I think people should mainly look at that. You know, look at that issue and take it for what it is, because
Mm-hmm.
we're talking about, oh, we are one people when we are under threat from Venezuela. However, the president of Guyana visits some businesses in Brooklyn, and Guyanese own businesses, and that becomes a major political campaign point for the opposition. That was lame. Uh, I mean, I don't care how people look at that. That was a lame try. That
You
was
know, the,
extremely
the, the
lame.
thing is also, just speaking from a layman's point of
Yeah.
view, for the time that I, been in the whole circle, we can understand that you say that a politician is only going to come to Mama Guy, or he's going to come to make it look as though that he is for the people or for the betterment of people, but at the same time they're doing so much that is not acceptable, in Guyana itself. I um i actually would hear both positives and negatives coming out of many things that is happening in Guyana, right? But at the same time, we're still looking at where there's a
Mm-hmm.
possibility where you can actually be in that connection rather than being blocked out and blacked out. And I think he gave an opportunity so that folks could have come out in a very professional way, moral like, to show the class, and also show the interest that they have for the better of Guyana, and also for the opportunities that they could have, or they can hear directly coming from him. You know what I mean? So these things are actually better than the days before, where now things are actually in the media or televised or whatever you do, you want to, however you want to do it, recorded. And these are things that you can show back to say, look at what you're saying, and you really didn't stand to what you were dealing with and what you were
What
telling
we're
us.
looking
You know what I mean?
Facts.
It's totally opposite. So I think that, instead of looking at the ignorance or the negative side of things, we should allow ourselves to be more in that place of where we can stick together, unite together, and at the same time push forward and get things done. You know what I mean? Get things done if you want to go.
on,
Yeah.
on, on, on that very same topic. Sure. I think I gotta address this issue. Excuse me, of people using this particular terminology, which I really don't like at all, and I don't know why Guyanese use it. Oh, we're all black people, right? Um, it 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 it, it, I don't know. I don't know. Suddenly we have to reinforce onto ourselves that we are. Well, I don't describe myself as a black man, but I'm a Nubian. All right. Um, this kind of what is basically, I describe it as like a horde mentality. In other words, we all are running in one direction as one horde, regardless of the direction we're going in, because we belong to the horde. All right, and that's something that I think that we, as these individuals who call themselves black people in Guyana, have to break that mental cycle because it's one extremely immature. And I'll show you at how many levels it is very immature. The first thing you've got to understand is that when indentureship happened in Guyana, and I think part of the problem is that we're not taught Guyanese history in high school. Um, when the Africans were brought here, they encountered the indigenous people as well. For those who even escaped and went deeper into the forest, they encountered the indigenous people and were integrated into their environment and their society. The Indians, the Chinese, the Portuguese who were brought here under indentureship also integrated with the Africans when they came here. So I don't know a lot of these people who are claiming, okay, I'm a black man, as if to say, okay, I'm a Nubian or I'm from Africa. I don't know if they've ever gone to Africa, but surprisingly, you will tell it's easy for you to tell the difference with somebody who's coming from, for example, Guyana or the diaspora of the Caribbean versus an African, because the first thing you can look at is your hair texture,
Yep.
right? And this is just a bit of education for those who don't know. You can look at your hair texture and you'll realize that every African in Guyana, supposed African in Guyana, is mixed, all right? He may be mixed with Chinese, Portuguese, Indian, but they are mixed because you can tell from the hair texture alone, all right? So that from that basic foundation, and a lot of people can trace this back even in their very basic genealogy. They can tell that some one of their grandparents was either of Indo descent or of Portuguese descent or of Chinese descent.
Mm-hmm.
So this whole issue where we are now pulling away from the rest of Guyana to say, okay, well, we're the black Guyanese. I don't, I never got that perspective. I don't understand it because it's extremely immature, and that level of immaturity, I think, is what has brought on what is happening now with what has happened in Brooklyn with the president visiting the Afro business community of Guyanese in Brooklyn, and it degenerating to a point where I mean, it's shameful, and a lot of people who are not Guyanese, if you were to ask them, they will explain to you, listen, that was not a good look for Guyana at all. Seeing that Guyana is this big booming emerging economy. What is going on in terms of, I mean, the education of the individuals and why would they be their thought pattern? I mean, at a certain level shows that hey, there's much to do in terms of the education, and for those individuals who want to hold on to those old bitterness or whatever, you could clearly see what is happening. And why are we talking about this issue before we totally forget it, Martin? Could we just run a couple of the pictures because I want to deal with the response of individuals because we have for example, a big social media guy by the name of Doggy. And let's bring up that photograph.
Mm-hmm.
He greeted the president as well, right? All right. And then we have the proprietor of the Hills as well. She met with the president. They were quite a grouping at the Hills. Um, if you got that picture, you can show that one as well. There was a grouping at the Hills. People were, yep, people were walking alongside the president and all of that. So how then do we have the a few individuals in the same community saying that because the president visited the black community businesses, no, he should not have been welcomed or he should have been disrespected in any form or fashion. I mean, where exactly is their thought pattern? And
You
I
know,
really dare anybody. I, one
I
second,
think,
sure. I really
yeah.
dare anybody to kind of say how that should be based on politics. Go ahead, sure.
No, what I'm saying, actually, the proprietor of the Hills, I gave her a little. I give her some respect for the way she handled stuff. I mean, she actually went back and did a live to try to answer to how she felt about the whole situation. But she made a post, and I think I was looking at it. It said, "An honor for President Infernali of Guyana to visit the Hills today, engaging in meaningful dialogue about the future and finding common ground on issues that matter to all of us, whether you agree on every policy or not. It's conversation like these that pave the way to for progress and understanding. You know what I mean?
I
So
agree.
if there is a way of, this opportunity pops up, you have somebody that knows for sure that he is not fully supported, right, in a certain area, but is brave enough to say, I'm gonna come and I'm gonna make sure I talk to you guys and I gonna make sure that I answer the questions towards, you know, what you're dealing with was affecting you and what we can do to move forward. Um, like I said, you will agree, you will not agree on many things that's being said. Even when you're in the country, it's the same thing. You will agree, you will not agree. There's a lot of things that I would see every day that I would say, yo, I hate what's going on coming from the side of the government. Things should be better. At the same time, I hate what's going on coming from the opposition side, right? You could sit down and you could point back to all the years. You can't fix it. It's already gone. You can't fix it. But what you gonna fix for the future? That's the problem.
See, the thing
Well,
is, sorry, back to democracy, right? By the people, for the people. No, it is actually the president's job to go out and circle around the people, which not a lot of previous presidents did. Because in from stories, I was told that Barnum was a man for the people. He was always on the ground with the people. Now, what is the problem with the current president, Mr. Ali, doing the same thing? Because of the ethnicity, because we can't say race, right? We got 6 different people in Guyana. How we still in the aspect of race? When enough of y'all children mix up, enough of we mix up. How we dealing with race?
this is what I said earlier. How we even get into that point of view? You understand? How we even dealing with that?
No,
Because a lot of people,
good.
just a short point.
Mm.
A lot of people who are using, and this is the thing we got to be careful with as we say our people. We got to be careful of people who use the color of your skin to do these segregated lines.
Mhm.
All right. And I just wanted to answer to Stacy Mack's question. What happens in Guyana, Stacy, it is not racism that is in Guyana. There are small pockets of individuals who are in and outside of Guyana who are trying to stroke the fire of racism in Guyana. All right. And that happens every time it's closer to elections because of the ethnicity balance in Guyana. But there's no real racism in that because they are families that are interconnected. If you came to Guyana, you would realize some families are so mixed. They're Amerindians, Portuguese, Chinese, and Africans all in one family. All right. So the whole idea of this whole racial tactic are a group of individuals who believe by stroking that racial fire, they'll be able to segregate and be able to grab power by using racism. But we know that's never going to happen. And that's tried before and failed.
So let me actually with color, right? It's got the colorism,
Yeah,
right?
colorism. Yeah.
Let me deal with color. As I said before, my jacket is black. I've never seen a black man, or a black woman, or a black baby. You understand me? So unless we getting blind or something with the rice still, we need to change. Because if anybody in Guyana, out of Guyana, could show me a black man, in America could show me a black man, show me a white man. I've lived in America over 10 years. I've never heard a light-skinned man trying to say, oh, I'm a white man. Even the so-called Trump supporters who is super racist, classist, sexist, and everything else in between. We don't hear, or I personally never heard any one of them. And
Call themselves white.
I live in Florida, mind you, where people in America knows Florida as is what I put down there. You don't really play in certain parts of Florida down there. Florida and Georgia and certain places in America.
Louisiana.
You ain't going down there really and relax and so. You understand? You ain't living in certain parts. I've been in parts of Florida where when we drive in, well, we gotta be smart, right? And I hope I'm smart enough that a piece of time when we was on tour, Malachi, because we're in the entertainment industry, right?
Yeah.
We rented a very nice vehicle to drive out of Florida with. So I at the bottom of the map, right, in America, which is Florida. And we driving up. We were going to Atlanta. And we had to pass through the Rednecks area, Maji.
Mm-hmm.
And when we make a stop at a nice establishment and we decide we're going to buy some food, everybody watching, we got 4 black men, as they call it, right? Jumping out a nice, very decent vehicle. Trust me, we look like we had money. But we know the different class we at. You understand? Fake it till you make it. Yeah. It's entertainment we just do, right? Now, we jump out of this vehicle and everybody watching me, and we're the only dark-skinned people in the entire community. Mm-hmm. So when we stop for gas, the people watching, we looking like, what's going on? Y'all, if the people wanted to say, they would have said, but y'all know y'all don't belong in this area, right?
Yeah. It's 4 Hershey's in the milk.
as Charlamagne is saying, a Jeremy is.
Yeah.
Now, I say that to say, Florida don't play with certain things. I heard the governor and the mayor and certain people in power would come out and speak against certain things on this side of the map. And them redneck chilling with the actual racist flag that the Afro-Americans fighting against today.
The Confederate.
Yes, right? So, we passing through them places and we know for sure, hey, this is not where we belong either. But where we going also is not where we belong because we're going to Georgia. And there was there's where the cotton picking used to really happen. Mm-hmm. So in Guyana where we got people cutting cane and doing rice and mix up so much that we all love the same things any given time except elections time.
No, like you gonna put puri and dal puri and roti and curry in front of black man and he not gonna eat that. Because he can say, nah, that's an Indian thing and I eat an Indian dish.
Exactly.
I mean it's a selective type of, like I said, it's like some weird stupidness, you know, when people are like, oh, we's the black people and them is the Indian people. I mean, it's so immature and stupid, especially for a place like Guyana. And this is specifically to Guyana because Guyana is unique to the Caribbean.
Very.
You understand? Very unique to the Caribbean. A lot of people wouldn't understand it, but there's 6 individuals.
But what is the base root? What's the base root of the issues among the people always fighting against each other? Is it something coming from the communities themselves? Is it something coming from the leaders? Is it something coming from local leaders? What from the churches? Where is it coming from?
It's incompetent. It's coming straight from the brain, Maji. It's a group of people who is highly incompetent to do anything for the betterment of themselves, for their generation under them, and for the future of Guyana.
Okay.
Idiosyncrasy, incompetence.
Bro, it's like a simple case. You got a group of people arguing, right? And when you listen to the argument is that yes, the government should give out more monies. I mean, there's so much oil money. I'm like, in which? I mean, there's Abu Dhabi, there's Dubai, there's the Arab Emirates, there's several oil-rich nations that get versus our couple billion, they get trillions in US dollars per year in oil, and they ain't handing out no money. So since where did that ideology suddenly arise? That I mean, instead of putting that money into better hospitals, better services, better doctors, higher pay for nurses, um, um, insurance policies, or medical and dental should be up to international standard. Instead of thinking in that direction, we thinking that okay, just
Money
hand
in
us
the pocket.
in the pocket, and this is again where the whole education and growth of a society needs to happen. And this is why we have decided, okay, well, a particular point of interest for us would be IP laws. Because the level of thinking, and I've never heard the opposition parties in Guyana actually bring up that issue, which would be one of the biggest issues because it's an issue that not only affects the content of what should be ownership owned by Guyanese, but it affects the development of the youth who are looking to develop themselves in entrepreneurship in several different facets. They're stuck because there's no enabling environment for their development. So those are some of the things that they should be talking about. Where is the noise on those issues rather than oh look at the president shaking a roti in a bucket?
They can't think of that because they're so behind that all they could actually think about is we need money, we want handouts, right? Now, imagine Malachi. Guyana don't have proper healthcare system, right? Now let's
Yeah.
look at that on a microscope. We have the NIS, who the other day I believe was going broke.
The
How is
NIS?
Yes, the NIS, the National Insurance Scheme, running broke when we're supposed to be paying into that system. Does that make sense?
Well, I'll tell you what. There. One of the things you got to be mindful of is a lot of misinformation. Again, comes out on social media about, for example, especially when it comes to a lot of government services. And what I tend to do is when I see something on social media and I want to verify, I will make a direct call to, let's say, the ministry where that information should have disseminated from.
Mm-hmm.
All right, because I think that those are some of the basic tenets of what it means to, especially in an environment like Guyana, where anybody, as far as we know, especially these so-called social media influencers, come out and just make statements because they have a following. It's not necessarily true,
So,
but it creates a whole
correct.
wave.
But
of,
here's why I said that, right?
Mhm.
We would complain about that and cause a whole hullabaloo, as you like to call it. But we wouldn't come out one day and ask the people who we put in power for a healthcare system that we don't have to go to the Georgetown Hospital if you're pregnant or if you're sick and stand up in a line. You understand me? We wouldn't ask for an insurance policy or insurance system whereby it covers the entire people. So if you can't afford it, the government covers it. What part we sense there?
But that's what I'm saying. It comes that we're not being properly represented, and instead of being represented, it's more people that's on one side that's just trying to cause a kind of come and see, or you ever look at the there's a popular TikTok outline before the video. It's normally the man normally say, "Y'all come look at this," because it's like instead of you saying, "Okay, guys, listen, calm down. I understand. I'm hearing all these different from views from all these different people. You know what? Let me put this together, put some of these clips together, and let me make sure that I go and represent in the parliament and see where the minds of the people are, and also at the same time, it will transcend into even the other side of the people that you think, because it's important.
Sure, I mean,
But
I
instead of
understand.
you having that, it's more
You
like
can't do
it's
that
more like
because in the same parliament, my G, we got the people asking, isn't 32 greater than 33?
oh God.
In parliament, my G, fighting, cussing, drunk. In parliament. This is what
I
we
mean,
have. Now, come see, right? There's the thing that said, yeah, come look at this. I am someone who's been looking at it. And I could tell you it's incompetence. You understand?
well, no, I mean, no, Amara, it is factual, right? I mean, I saw there was a video on social media. I was hoping to be able to grab the video, but unfortunately, it was pulled, right, before I could grab it. But I actually saw a female parliamentarian totally inebriated.
I had that in an
She's
archive
trying
and
to,
I saved it.
you have it? You have it? I'm glad
I'm
it.
gonna go find it. I'm gonna go find it.
No, no, it was so funny. It was totally hilarious because I'm looking at this person and I'm asking myself, are you talking? We in the same. I mean, we're supposed to be talking about the budget here. What are you talking about
How could
exactly?
I depend on somebody like Duffer represent me? Now, I am not the
Well,
smartest in the
But
bunch.
that's called whatever I say. I am big and you small. When I say,
when I
you
say
must
jump, you say how high?
understand that it is real. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm watching. You can't tell a kid that these days, because back in the day, you could have tell a kid certain things and they get scared about certain things. But these days, kids are more so much in a place where they're being taught from social media that if your parents trying to tell you XYZ nonsense,
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
they
Okay.
they're actually telling you when you come with your little piece of your little something that you got in a nutshell, they come and bring the whole package and say, look, read it all for yourself. That's what the kids doing now. So you gotta be very mindful about these nonsense you're coming up with. You know what I mean?
I mean, especially when you got Google. But before we go too far, let's acknowledge a couple of the comments. Dr. Gilbert says development is a process. What we need is to cultivate an attitude of entrepreneurship, which I mentioned earlier, and this is why, again, I mentioned IP laws.
Correct.
Stacy Mack is saying they are demanding the same from Arab rich oil countries. That's the question. I mean, this has to do with asking for handouts or money from the
Yeah, but
government.
on that note, I just want to make sure that since you're talking about entrepreneurship, there's a lot of people in Guyana, or a lot of youths in Guyana, that is seeking the opportunity that, yes, I do not have the connection directly to the source of getting contracts or getting a certain type of job or whatever, but they're being subcontracted because of their push of being an entrepreneur and seeking to be a part in the whole sense of, getting getting a piece of the pie of what's going on. You know what I mean? Guyana is in a stage of development as per infrastructure. Of course, they're gonna be looking forward for so many things because that's the word that's coming from. Listen, this place gotta be a certain way.
Basically, every business has an opportunity because it's a
Exactly.
growing market.
So
It's simple.
you
Every
don't
single
have to
business.
be you don't have to be the main man, but you could be the man that is being on the second man or the third man, but you're the man, you still making what you looking for.
You see, Sherwin, they have been so accustomed for years to thinking at a very small scale that when now the growth and expenditure and stuff is now in Guyana, where, for example, you're going to have Linden, which definitely is going to develop into a city. It has to have its own ordinance, its own infrastructural development, its own stuff going on that side. Berbice will also become the same. Georgetown will expand exponentially. All right, because you're looking at all the way to Eccles and then and MacDoom. All that side is going to become part of Georgetown sooner or later because of the expansion. All right. Now, if you have a group of individuals who are just accustomed to running, and I pointed this out, and I'll show you when I say from a mentality level what I'm talking about. If once you come to Guyana and you drive from Timiri and you come to Georgetown, you realize something about Guyanese immediately. I don't know if you could pick it up. Is that they love to live upstairs their business. All right. So they upstairs and their business place downstairs are in front of their property.
That's why
All right. No, this is called that mentality to me is a soft, good shop type mentality.
Okay.
That's a very macro thing. You're thinking real small. Now, when you think on a larger scale, is when you decide, okay, well, I'm going to live here, but my business is going to be maybe in a central hub, a location. So then you're facilitating maybe rent. You're also going to be, this is how an economy, this is how it stems from one to the other. The economy grows. Exactly. You can't want to be the proprietor, the manager, the sales girl, and everything in one because you're living right there and you expect growth to happen. This kind of is it's like it's a mentality thing, and again, I got to reference what Dr. Gilbert is saying. We got to cultivate an attitude and a mentality of entrepreneurship because if we don't have that growth where we expand, where we can see a business in Linden, a business in Georgetown, a business in Berbice, and we allow individuals to run it, although we're the owners of that.
Yeah.
And this is where I think we're very small-minded in even the situation with the Venezuelans coming in together because we're not seeing the benefit. A matter of fact, I'll show you an example. Right now, if I go out to the corner where I live, the entire corner is being done over at Turning Point. They're putting in these concrete guttering and revetments and all of that. And I'm looking at that and I'm looking for the Guyanese who work in there. Like, I ain't seen not one.
I'm black and you want to walk?
No. A matter of fact, the blackers on the corner chilling and drinking beer. While the Venezuelans are the ones who are building. All right. So again, we have to change the mentality. See this whole mentality we have that it's weird, but you're not doing anything with it. You're not building anything. You're not doing anything. You're sitting there and you're waiting for who?
Same thing with the squatting land. The ancestors want us to hold and have. I don't see it making sense.
Who told them the ancestors said to hold it? Who told them the ancestors?
That is what I asking too, cause my ancestors would have whipped me, knowing that I from Africa, Maji. You ain't just holding a bunch of grass on the land, and that is what we have, which is why we got good forestry and we could supply the rest of the earth. Everybody with the land is holding grass or big forestry.
Mm-hmm.
Whereby I got decent business, I want to come and put down roots in and then hope that my children will take over. And then there's 100 odd people like me with mindset that, we gotta get things in this life because guess why? Granny and mommy did not provide. Daddy was already out going for milk. He probably followed the buffaloes that we don't have today. You understand?
Yo, listen though, in the sphere of politics in Guyana, I don't believe coming from both sides or both parties that no one should major in or feel that they should major in on race anymore. Because there is such a mix in everything that's happening. It is far much from the thought or from the message that came in the past. And I don't understand why, especially coming from the youth side of things, everybody is making a choice to what makes or what is comfortable for them. Mm-hmm. And they're not looking at who is in power or what the stigma was from the past. They are actually saying, this is working for me. I can go down this lane. This is what making more sense to me. I can go down this lane. So I think politicians, which is some is still trying to flex in that same direction of the racism talk and all the
No, them people is not politicians. True
segregation
politicians
business and
stand
all
on
of
a
these
platform.
different things. And that's what I'm saying. Guys got to start. I think they should get more sense to understand that we got to speak more in a view of Guyanese.
Not them.
Well,
Mitchell.
well,
we
well,
gotta get a whole new set of people coming in.
Sharon,
We got clean house.
what,
Not them
what,
people though.
But
what?
that's why I said, that's why I said certain parties, both parties might be too.
Yeah,
Not
yeah.
just
Of
one.
course, both parties
Have to
got
see the
clean house.
backs, have to see the backs of a few politicians in their party in order for things to actually move smoother
Really
than
move,
it
yeah.
is.
Yeah, to move
You know what I
forward.
mean?
But one of the interesting comments is, what is the standard that we're holding our leaders to, particularly those who speak for the Black or Afro community? I mean,
can't
that's a
answer.
big question. That's a big question.
I don't consider
What is
myself
the
black. I
standard?
can't answer.
Well, I don't really consider myself black either, but this is why it's Black or Afro community, right? Stacy, good night to Stacy. Stacy, making some good comments as well. Stacy,
So
I think the government, just to answer Stacy Max's question, Martin, one second. I do believe at the present time, because of course Guyana has just, and this is the thing that I want people to kind of like understand. Guyana has not got 10 years of oil yet going on for the kind of development that people want to happen. They want Guyana to turn into the US or Dubai immediately. It's going to take quite a process, and that process has a lot to do with the mindset of the individuals in this country, all right, and the diaspora, of course, because the first thing they need to understand is what the development process would entail. Now, if the government is saying to the population, listen, we need to be able to identify, which is a very basic no that we've got on it. If the government is saying we need to identify each and every Guyanese so that we can have them in the record, so we know all who are Guyanese and all who are people who are coming in to service, to work, etc., etc., so that the Guyanese, the population of the Guyanese, can benefit from what Guyana has to offer. And this is not only those who are on the ground, but I guess for those who are also spread out across the diaspora. I think this is the main drive why President Ali is out there, to try to encourage them to focus on the opportunities that Guyana is providing. And because they're out there and may be able to access more capital than those on the ground in Guyana, they can then come home and do a lot more because they have a lot more scope because they are Guyanese. All right. Now, the whole mess that was created in Brooklyn with what was said and people trying to disrespect the president of Guyana. I mean, it takes us back to the question: what standards are we really holding these leaders who call themselves or proclaim, self-proclaim? Because a lot of them are kind of, in my estimation, one of these guys who come out on social media and said he belongs to some Caribbean organization or whatever is totally delusional. He is totally delusional.
Isn't that the same guy who waiting to be charged in Guyana?
Yeah. I think somebody needs to maybe do some mental evaluation on this.
Let me do this, right? Let me do this. So I want to answer Stacey a bit also.
Yeah.
The government is giving assistance. Is it enough? I can't say, because we need to import people. Do our people on the ground want it? Clearly not. At least not all of them. Is the system in place able to facilitate any type of growth and development that my little brain could envision? Because the president's current agenda is 2020, something by 2025, which is the thing with the food basket. We're booming in agriculture, right? So they're pushing a 2025 agenda, which is a couple months from now.
Mhm.
But obviously they want to run for election again to sit down for another 5 years, right? So they're going to kick you up to 2025 by 2025, right? So they're going to kick you up to 2030. I can't say here nothing but that 5 years that is planned. I guess that's going to come during the full campaign time, right? Now, somebody like me who got a working brain, or I would at least hope that my brain has functioned decently enough to come and talk to anybody today, right? Because I have business
Mhm.
in America, in Guyana. The way that I would conduct my business in America to a standard, I cannot enter Guyana and even think of running my business like that. First of all, the implies that you're going to hire, got coming with their mentality of, oh, you're coming from foreign, you come with money, so I got to get paid more than what I deserve.
No, they get paid, not deserve what they were, what you should be paid. You want to get paid an American standard versus you working in G.
Correct. Now, when it comes to getting things done with the government officials and offices directly, I could speak firsthand. We there behind, Maji.
Yeah,
right?
we behind.
Because a lot of head offices that I would have went to directly, Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Education, Ministry of Culture, Ministry of Tourism, because I go into places where I have business that these people should be able to assist me.
Yeah.
Now me coming for the money. Now me, I ain't wealthy either. I ain't big and rich. But yet I ain't coming for the money that Guyana have. Right? Or the handouts like everybody else looking for. What I want is when I walk into any ministry or any establishment, we have a standard operating procedure. Hi, good day, sir. How are you? Welcome.
Mhm.
How can I help you? Some places we have that. But some places you gotta stand up outside in the sun for hours. Like the banks.
Mm-hmm.
That shouldn't be.
Disrespectful to the customers, yeah.
The Ministry of Housing, if I'm correct, would have set up a tent in front of the office on the road front. Now look at the mentality of the government themselves. The ministry set up a tent, a big white tent, and put AC and fan and thing out there for accommodate the people, right? So when you come in the hundreds and for applies for house lands that we got to wait years for, you have to stand in the sun, but now they give you tents, so we must be comfortable with drinking water outside.
All right.
This is the government, Maji.
Yeah.
That don't make sense. When we have all of this land that you could set up offices in each and every region to accommodate these people.
Yeah. Service sector, man. You gotta think. This is what we talk about micromanaging versus expansion of your mind. I mean, it's recently. I think Guyana started issuing passport from other locations than the Camp Street location.
But even that closed down. I came out to Guyana a week and a half ago, where I went for my passport. I had to go there at 4 o'clock in the morning, Maji. People said they're here from since last night. You understand?
Yeah, that's a fact.
Now let me tell you what Guyana says.
Now it comes back to my point. On a few ministries, these things are lagging of in a better way that they can move forward.
They have no SOPs.
Now you got to figure who is the watchman towards these things from the government that should say, listen, we need to do better than this, and just give them the strikes so that they can.
Maybe this is where they need oversight. Where
that's what I'm saying. They need some kind of that adjustment has to be made. You know what I mean? Because especially in dealing with people coming from abroad, that is getting accustomed to things a certain way.
People will come.
Also, you want to treat your own citizens, especially, even more. In a way that to say, listen, you're talking about all these improvements, so we want to make sure that you feel it too. Whenever you pull up.
This is why, Sherwin, we've been adamant about changing the mentality of the service sector. You got to focus a lot more on the education of the population of what is happening in the development. Because if you don't do that, they're not going to be able to catch up with the changing climate in the environment, especially with the influx of people coming into Guyana. All right, this is some of the problems we're going to have. But just to get back to what Martin was saying earlier about the 25%, it's the president. It's we to reduce by 25% the food import bill for Guyana by 2025. So this is why there's this drive with agriculture, because once you're able to be self-sustaining or sustenance for yourself, then you could average. Okay, this is what we're going to use in a year, and we can export we can export the rest, which would also increase our GDP. So this is where again we have to look at the way the people or the population of Guyana is thinking in what direction. Because if they were thinking in this direction, we wouldn't have had that kind of fiasco in New York and that level of embarrassment. Because we would have had people who were forward thinking and would be looking at the situation and an opportunity to say, how do we fit ourselves in? How do we, despite I didn't vote for this particular guy, but again, if you inject that factor of race into it, you realize this is why the problems arise. Because it's not about any policy or any real development issue. It's just about, okay, well, you're not a race like me, so I'm angry.
Which makes no sense.
Makes no sense. It makes no sense.
And keep in mind, same said people who's jumping on social media and speaking out or against the president because of a simple visit, how much of them have legit business? How much of them is legitimately living in America?
That's a big.
We need to look at certain things, right?
Right, because
we need to look at certain things, Maji. How much of these people the last person, one of the persons who is speaking out, was charged for treason in Guyana. So how do you then come and speak out of anything? How do you dare open your mouth?
I mean, anybody was charged with treason in the US, they don't have a voice. They're like, you got to take several seats.
No, hold on. They still have a voice, Malachi, because it's freedom of speech.
Yeah,
but
freedom of speech. But who
you can't come and talk with an empty head and a water mouth. Yeah. It would have been best that you fill your mouth with some of the same exact roti that the president was clapping, right? So we could have the flavor to come out and speak.
Yep.
Now, it don't make sense to come out and talk to people like me with a brain. Stupidness, Maji. You understand? Because I have children born in Guyana and born in America. Now, clearly they're going to live two different lives. Each and every one of them. But my goal is to make sure my children live a better life that I grew up with. And my mother grew up with. And what's yet my ancestors? Me want to go back there. And we shouldn't have to go back there.
Yeah, well, I've realized certain things over time, right? I don't know if it's an ideology, but I kind of break it down to an ideology of poverty, because I can't understand why, for example, and you got to look at it seriously when it comes to our people. Now, you would look at a group of guys in Oil Boys Town, right? Let's use an example, and one of them will, how we use our Guyanese language, say one of them raised, right?
Yeah.
One of them raised. You know what the fight down is going to be. We all on this panel know what the fight down is going to be. Now, one of them, right in the next village, that Grayson Albistown, Alexander Village now, right? A man in Alexander Village, he raised. Now, look at the difference in what will happen to him living in Alexander Village versus another dude like he or his friend living in Albistown and raised.
Well, we had a perfect example a couple of days ago, Malachi, whereby a youth from Sophia just bought a brand new motorcycle, as they say.
Exactly. That is why I made this analogy. Exactly. Just for his bike.
Now,
what did they?
The analogy.
What happened?
A young man purchased a motorcycle and they killed him for it. How much motorbike the police station have right now? Where is our brain, G? How much thousands of motorcycles does each and every single police station have? Housing today in the rain, taking sun, taking dew for no reason at all because you didn't have your right paperwork or one may have been caught stealing it. But this is what we have to go through in Guyana, brother. But then at the same time, everybody could afford to drive a car. It don't add up, my G. It don't add up. Now when I go to Sophia, I gotta be frightened. I can't even buy a moped. Because I got frightened a man and rap me and kill me for me thing. I can't go with nothing fancy.
It's like
they coming from America.
It's like a crowd in the Barber syndrome.
And trust me,
Right.
Sophia, where everybody in Guyana know, is not a bad community. I grew up around there.
No. I can testify to that. Sophia is not a
Nothing
bad.
about Sophia bad, Maji. Everybody on the
Nothing.
mother girl who's
So,
there a piece of
so
land.
why is it? What happened in the past that might
No.
still make that name
No.
sound
It's not a
frightening?
matter of past. It's not a matter of past.
There's certain communities you know for sure that it's gonna be from the past or maybe because of a certain incident or whatever that caused that area to be.
Remember, Sophia is basically a new community, so it hasn't been there for 20 odd years. It's been there, growing for 20 odd years. But the way it is now, as a demarcated community, roads, different fields, and all of that, that's a recent development. All right. So what I was telling Sherwin is not that Sophia is a bad. Is that you have individuals, groups of individuals who, for example, nobody could say there aren't jobs available. Because you can go and do a labor job today, and if you want your money, you can get paid today and not if you want to do that.
Yeah.
Right? In Guyana right now. So this whole thing about we getting money, people taking blows is because they don't want to get up and work.
Money.
You know how it is in America. Whether it come rain, hail, snow, you better get your behind out of bed and go to work. And if you do not go to work on time, you will be replaced. It's simple as that. They ain't got no ifs, ands, or maybes. But in Guyana, we have this attitude. I call the boss man, they can't make it today. Just like how the song say, but they call the boss and tell you, they no work today. They just do that here in Guyana. And because, one of the things, I mean, if I have a chance to talk to President Ali or the government movers and shakers about certain things, I'll tell them straight up, we got so many holidays. And if we're going to be a productive society, we got to get rid of those holidays because you're not working.
Man, tell me the other day.
And drink rum. You understand?
Man, tell me the other day. Man, tell me the other day, the man said, yo, in Guyana, if you want to stay home for work, you could just say, I can't come today, and you just show back.
Right? Or you go to the hospital and get a fake medical.
You pay a $5,000.
In America, you gotta
$5,000 and say
you better call in time for the sick, call out sick. You gotta call within the time that is specified, or you gotta make sure you even call within the time that's specified also for the family leave, family sick leave.
You missing
specification still.
No, but listen, the part you missing with Guyana is that the doctor is gonna be in cahoots with you for you get this time.
No, I had a piece of that when I been down there. I collect me couple days.
See, that is the system I can't.
Yeah, I didn't want to make a rule and not a specific. That's a specific place you could go and get it.
No, but this is what we're talking about. Once somebody, for example, you're driving down the road, the police have a traffic stop, you're stuck. You pull out your phone and you could call somebody who's higher ranking than that constable on the street.
That don't make sense.
That person, I can say, but left the person let it go on.
That don't make sense.
This is what we're talking about. This is the kind of stuff that we're saying. Instead of
we have a system like that here though. Listen, they have a PBA card that you could use here. And it could be issued by specific individuals. What happens, it helps you
identification.
Right. But it helps you at
what we're
certain point.
talking about.
It
Right.
opposite
Now
of
here what we're
point.
talking about. We're talking about you get stopped in a roadblock. You
And you make
have,
a
for
phone
example,
call.
since right, and you make a phone call, and the superior officer tells that officer on the road that the person there's my family, there's my friend, or some acquaintance, or some nonsense. This is the kind of things that
Yeah, that
Martin
gotta
Luther King
stop,
was
man,
talking
for
about
real.
on video, and it goes across the board. It's a
Comes
kind of
back to
it's an intrinsic mindset of corruption where nothing ain't going straight because I could call somebody.
comes back to me
I
like
got I got some
showing
money. I could pay.
the sitting government. If I like the fact that we're growing, we're producing, we're oil nation, we booming in agriculture, we booming in the forestry, we booming in a lot of things. Development, right? We're not booming with our people. Education
No.
for sure we there behind. You
Yeah.
understand?
That's where we need to be booming the
Some of the
most.
main things that we need to propel. And this now I gotta ask, does the government actually and really care about any real development for the country? Because the developing country got to develop the people, right? If you build all them road and them fancy bridge and thing, it just left there. There are currently places in America, places around the world that is abandoned. And people don't go back there and live. You understand me? So are we moving to a very nice Dubai-like economy whereby everything nice and look good and the people is wealthy and everybody good and we ain't got no worries really and truly? Or are we moving to this is me time in office. I can take what I get. I can feed me people. I can make sure me family good. I can make sure me here type people good and we done that. We can hold power. Yeah, everything is about power. And we can keep the another man out. Give the another man a little slow, but still, we can keep the another man out.
No, but
Does the government truly believe in its people? Because I watched the video that the president put out. The man looked like he wanted to cry when he talking on the well, I know entertainment might have been fake, but still, I felt emotional because I feel like, yeah, this is a man, and I was there from the first meeting where he said, I will be back. And he came back and he kept his words. Like I said earlier, I respect that as a man. Just being man to man alone, I respect them. Being a politician, I have more respect for them. But do you really care about the people? Because today or tomorrow, we still have to go and stand up by housing where I just put in for a house land in the sun. Or we still have to go by Georgetown Hospital and wait, knowing that me head running blood, I almost dying again. The nurses say, sit down, you're not very important yet. They have people more important in front of you. And I don't have money to go to the private hospitals to get looked after right away.
you don't have insurance.
We're looking at healthcare system. Do you plan to put in any real healthcare system in Guyana and not just build a bunch of hospitals? I like your style, trust me.
This is what we were talking about on the radio program in the morning. That really instead of and this is where the minds of the politicians really have to grow. We're talking about the opposition here because their thought pattern should have been that every Guyanese should have an insurance plan for dental and health. Whether they went to Georgetown Hospital or whether they went to a private hospital, those that will come out of that insurance policy development.
No.
You gotta have that regime, and because we have such a small population on the ground, you're not gonna see people from New York run home and say, okay, well, I want dental in Guyana, although it happens because
Well, I got
I've heard.
I like it cheap and nice.
Yes, no, I was just gonna say it. Actually, dental
Me
in
not
Guyana
over here, my what?
is cheaper in Guyana than in the US. You understand? So we do have a few things that are moving in a progressive direction. However, like Martin mentioned earlier, and this is one of my forever mantras, I would say, educating the population to understand their position, where we are in the global scale I'm talking about, not just one little myopic, oh, these Guyanese, Essequibles, beyond. No, not that kind of nonsense I talking. I talking about understanding who we are as a nation
Yeah.
on the global scale, you know, what we are representing. And also that will bring the diaspora together so that it changes a lot of facets in our environment and society. Even down to the music aspect of it will change because of that coming together. So we got to really look at those individuals who are more bent on division. You got to look at them and say, well, you see these people, they got to get marginalized for real because they're the ones that are really putting a spoke in really from the wheel actually turning and going the full 360. They're going 45, jam off and go back because we have a set of these individuals who are not forward thinkers. You understand? They're only bent on, okay, let's have discourse, let's have this unity, let's have a level of total chaos. That's not what we're looking to have, you know. So education again helps to break down a lot of these barriers because I hear some people on call-in programs on the radio in Guyana call in and they would say some things that are like you wondering, did you even go to high school? Because what you expect the government to be doing is not a government portfolio. It's not a something that the government should be involved in. And a lot of it bends to something that has to do with their personal life. And it's totally crazy. Which country could you go to? You can't go to America and tell them that, oh, the government should be paying attention to issues in your life. Really? They have the kind of time to worry about what's happening with your personal life. I don't think so. I think it's the policies that you have to kind of understand the regimes of what's happening. And this is where we fail and always have this thing where we go out there, especially on social media. And oh, the government didn't do this. Oh, the government is responsible for this. Oh, if it rained too much, that's a total act of God, but the government was responsible, I guess, for the too much rain.
Well, we know the guy hold the short end of the stick for the blackout.
Yeah, well, for now, no, listen, for now, and I'll tell you why I don't give them the short end of the stick yet with the blackout. I remember carefully, just at the end of the tenure of the last government, APNU, we had new plants installed for Wartsilla, right? And if you remember carefully, under APNU, the last ending part, did we have a spate of blackouts happening? No, we did not. All right. Now, all of a sudden, and even into, I would say, even after elections, into President Ali's tenure, a good almost 2 years into President Ali's tenure, did we have a spate of blackouts?
No, we had a nice solid grid, man.
All right. Now, when there are two facets here that you have to take into consideration. One of them, I tend to put that in my conspiracy bucket and say, well, there's a possibility that we got rogue elements working at GPL who would definitely throw a monkey wrench in the system as to not make the government look good. That's one, right? That's one element you got to take into consideration. The next element that you have to take into consideration is the fact that because of the growing economy and it's moving at such a rapid pace, where you have a lot more hotels, you have a lot more big buildings using a lot more power coming online onto the grid now, from Timeri all the way to Georgetown. It could be that the grid can sustain, which was outlined by the president and also persons from GPL, that the grid couldn't sustain, so it needs added power because we have so many more new houses, you have so many new businesses, you have so many new hotels. It's pulling more from the grid. Henceforth, the government said, one of the things that we would have liked to have already was the Amila Falls thing, hydro plant in place, so that when this bit of development was happening, we already had the hydro plant in place to deal with this level of power that we would need. But because we don't have that in place, we now have to depend on bringing in a barge at least for 2 years in the possibility that we will be able to get the workings of at least moving towards developing the hydro plant in Guyana by that point, where we can then get rid of the barge and totally depend on what is actually sustainable, which is the water, which is flowing in Guyana, and we could use that for energy generation. You know, that in my estimation is where, for example, our opposition politicians should be thinking, how are we sustaining Guyana for the generations to come in terms of our power generation? We know that having power plants run by fuel is not going to be able to withstand the factories and the manufacturing plants that Guyana is expecting in the near future. So we got to think big. This is why I'm saying our politicians really got to open up that cabeza and realize that we got to think big. We can't think small. This is a good sharp thing I know.
Yeah, you gotta shut up a little bit. You see, Malachi, me being this age, me having children, me having some type of knowledge about Guyana, about America, and I've traveled a little bit, right? To different countries, and I see how these different places would have developed themselves. Now, Guyana is in a beautiful trajectory, of course, right?
Of course. Yep.
Everybody, all Guyanese, should feel proud of that, right?
Right. Yeah.
Now, in the case whereby our opposition isn't doing their job, some of the sitting government members isn't doing their job, it have been leading me to think that if you can do it, yeah, pay attention, then I will have to come in, relieve some of y'all burdens, right? And run for politics, run for office. You understand me? Because like I said, I cannot go back to the rice water. I still do drink I eat sugar and rice and sugar and milk and rice and them thing. Just because I like it. But me plan to do that all my life. Right now I on a nice diet.
It's not something that you would say, well, you're forced to eat because you got nothing else to do.
I on a nice fruits diet. Even today I went and buy a bunch of fruits that I planned for juice and I planned for cut up and eat and all them things. And I just eating nice fruits, drinking water, coconut water and these other things. Lime in my thing, cloves in my water. I want to be healthy and nice. I want to continue to be the cute guy behind in front of the camera. But I cannot continue to achieve that if we got certain politicians in place who would bring in people from America, or when people from the UK come in, reporters, and show them parts of Guyana and say, this is the developing Guyana.
Yeah.
I can't subscribe to them things. When we got politicians still worrying about 32 greater than 33 and still fighting in court. When we got teachers, which I believe certain group of people, the teachers, the nurses, them is two main people for society.
Yeah.
And
but
if we have a brain drain in that system, we looking bad.
We looking thin. Not bad. We looking thin.
Guys, on the ground. Continue.
One of the things I asked the question. A lot of people, and this is in no way to knock at some educators, but to really look at the overall issue critically. If this, because remember, as teachers, the end product would be the people in the society, in the environment that you're in. And if this is the end product of all the teaching, all the excellent teaching and the excellent whatever a few of them claim, then something definitely is off.
But then again too, right, Malachi, hold on. Then again too, we gotta remember the teachers teaching from a module that is so outdated. that they might be actually doing a very good job teaching. Because everybody understand. I grew up reading Rampat and Family and them thing. You understand, man? Social studies of Guyana and them books and thing. The same business principle of business and principle of accounts. Business would have changed so much.
Drastic.
Accounts changed so much. But we still teaching the old stuff. So the teachers might be doing a very good job, an exceptional job actually. But the materials that they're using is outdated.
You see, I'll beg to differ there a little bit, because what really happens, we're upgraded, we're connected with the CXC, which is the Caribbean Examination Council. And basically, Guyana's curriculum is also attached to part of the curriculum as well in the Caribbean. However, what I noticed in our structure overall is that we've got junior and senior schools, and what we have is that some schools don't carry, for example, certain schools carry social studies, but they're not carrying history. All right. Some schools will carry physics, chemistry, and biology. Certain schools don't carry that. Right. So you need, in order for me, I mean, I went to a country. I lived in a Caribbean island that was number 14th in the world in its level of education at the time, and that was Montserrat. All right. So I can tell you, there were certain subjects that you could not avoid, period. You could not avoid chemistry. You could not avoid biology. And you could not avoid physics, mathematics, English A, B, and literature. Literature. Those subjects, you had to have those subjects on your roster. I mean, you could move on to, you could have done woodworking, you could have done technical drawing, which would lead you into architecture. You could have done electrical um, development, all of that kind of stuff. You could have added on as part of your subjects, but there were certain subjects that you could not get away from. Period. Now, if you have those in the curriculum, you realize you have a different, for example, a different level thinking society. Because, for example, let's go to the COVID issue and the education during that time period. It would have been way easier for people to understand the COVID issue, because if chemistry, biology, and physics were in their regular curriculum, they would have understood it from the standpoint, listen, of what it was. Okay, so we are so, and this again, I think, Martin, this is why we constantly talk about education, education, education. And one of the areas I think the government can really fast track this education is to really focus on PSIs, which are public service information ads, which kind of disseminate information in creative ways that get people to understand. For example, if you want to stop littering, which is a very simple thing, you have a litter bug campaign, which you don't stop it after a year or two, which is the usual thing in Guyana. They'll start a campaign and decide that after 2 years it's done. No, it's got to be a continuous, and you constantly upgrade it from one to the next, where you get to a point where you're not only telling them they don't litter, but then you get to the point where you now get to recycling, where you're explaining to the population, okay, plastics go into one kind of color bag, your trash or your composite goes into a dark bag, and your other stuff, you put it on the sidewalk and it will be picked up when the garbage collectors are passing through. But there are different days. For example, like in the US, they'll pass and they'll pick up the recyclable material, they'll pass and pick up the compost material, that kind of stuff. We haven't even got to how we sustain our development, because, of course, in a growing environment and a growing country, you're going to have a lot more garbage. People going to consume a lot more things. All right, we getting more money. People are going to use a lot more. So we're not. These are where our thought patterns have to go. Instead of the opposition going out there and talking stuff that's totally not irrelevant to the development of the population. These are the aspects of the development that their focus should be on, and not for the next 2 years, for the next 25, for the next 50 years to come. What are the plans? What are their proposals? We ain't seeing nothing.
Well, we've never seen anything.
I was having a conversation in my group, ex school group, and
Mhm.
one of the points that came out, one of my colleagues was saying, you know, it is so much. He went back to Guyana after about what, maybe about 20 years, but he said the mindset of the people is what is one of the major downfall of the country.
Yep.
Mhm.
And if the people don't come to that place of adjusting or adapting to what the changes are, we will always have a serious fight. Because most times you find government wants support or a party wants support. It's like you go as a professional tennis player, but you're going to jump in the middle of a set of mediocres. What eventually start happening while you're playing? You start playing just like them. You find that you ain't even reaching to the standard that you normally play because you got to come down to bend to what it is that you're dealing with there. So you're compromising at the same time while they're having bad habits. And, like you're saying right now, Malachi, you have to make sure as a government and opposition, as the parliament in the whole,
Yeah,
push to educate the people properly of
Yep.
where really we are, what is expected of us, and how
yeah.
you can make a difference or make it easy as a people for the country to grow.
Because this is why every elected member in there is in there.
That's
They're
what I'm
there
saying. But there's a fight.
not to
It's
eat,
always a
not to
fight.
eat
It's
or
like
fall to sleep.
it's an ignorant
You
fight,
understand?
man. It's ignorant. You know,
They're there to come up with policies that are directing a nation. And I think really and truly, if they know, I think some politicians realize if we had a highly educated population, Guyana would be a different place.
Of
Because a
course.
lot of the tomfoolery that some of our politicians get away with, they would not be able to get away with.
Mm.
One of the things I think we need to definitely, as a Guyanese, the Guyanese population and diaspora need to cry for is a change in our parliamentary structure and the laws that govern how our elections are run. Because one of the things I think should happen is that every representative that goes into parliament should be elected by a particular constituent. They should have votes behind them. So if you go in parliament and we realize you're not representing that group of individuals properly,
Take
we
you
can
out.
recall you from
Yeah.
parliament,
yo,
although you belong to the ruling party. It doesn't matter. We could recall you
you
because
know what people gotta
you're
go home.
not doing it.
Malaka, you know what people gotta
No,
go home.
no, but this is
Well,
why.
let me send
This
them
is
home. I
why.
got brain. I ready for politics,
No,
but you sound nice
this
and
is
look a good
why.
looking actress.
This is why. This is
Because
why
there's
functioning
a lot of
democracies
people
run the way they run.
there's a lot of people that even though they're representatives, so-called representatives of a certain group of people, right? Which is
Mhm.
a certain group of supporters, I should say, and not group of people, but supporters. They are not so loved because of their lack of representation for the people. You know what I mean? And they've been going ongoing for years in that capacity. You know what I
There,
mean?
there is where we now start to fight with race because
Mhm.
if we cannot take out one person from power, as we should have been able to as a true democracy country,
Correct. A
then
true
we have
democratic country.
to bundle everybody up and say all of y'all is racist towards black people. because the ones in power is aiding and abetting these people. Like back in the days, and I always come with stories, of course, because it's my experience. Remember I said I used to push my hand over by my neighbor yard and pull the belange. What I didn't say is my mom sent me one time to go and steal the belange and the pepper. You understand? Now, may come here for knock my mother, right? But this is the truth. This is my truth. And what I said one time, it was super late and she wanted some pepper for eating. I said, listen, you gotta go for your own pepper. And I got a beating because I talked back and I disrespected her, right? But I stand up for what I then believe was wrong. So imagine if my mother had continued to force me to go and pick the neighbor thing them and beating me when my brother or my sister do something. And I used to get licks because I'm the young one and you just got always drag your tail with you. So I was everybody's tail because I'm the middle child. So if me brother and me sister do something that I did and I send on me snitching, I get in a whipping because the upholder is worse than the thief.
Yeah, okay.
Right? Yeah. So if you can beat me for being the upholder, but you want to encourage me to go and thief on your behalf, we ain't gonna have that. At some point we gotta change that.
Yeah.
What I did to put a stop into all of that is one day I got a beating and I didn't like it. And I pick up a cutlass and I say, so happen. All 500 chicken that we mining, I start lashing all of their heads off. To show you that I will not stand for stupidness. And right away, I could say I never got a beating. Well, if I can show you how we can learn, this is my way of showing them how we can learn the hard way. Because if I talk to you, I'm disrespecting you. And this is why when I speak today, I speak with so much passion. Because I cannot subscribe to things wrong in my life, Maji. If my mother do wrong today, she could tell you, me, she just get it out, ding that. Anybody around me, them just get it out. Anything that I see is not ethically correct, we get a problem. You can't be around me, first of all. And this is why certain people mesh good. Me and Malachi have a nice relationship. Because Malachi have morals and values that I could stand with. Yeah, this man ain't getting for certain stupidness in life. You understand? And when we go around certain people, we just pull them up. Yo, you can't come around me with them thing though. You understand? I have a video where the opposition would have taken the journalist to his place of being Guyana and showed him. I'm gonna play.
Yeah, play that video.
Right?
From the oil boom. 40% of the population still lives in poverty. Even in the capital, some neighborhoods reek of neglect and deprivation.
Now, it's a good thing that the commercial come on, right? So you could take that off. But that is the Guyana that the opposition showed the world, Maji.
Yeah.
Right? That is the... Apologies. That is the Guyana that the opposition would have taken the international cameras and showed the world. Now, that I think I should actually continue playing it, right? Because that area is the Sapphire area that I keep talking about. That area is the exact location behind the opposition head office. Now, with all your common sense, that is where you choose to show the world and say, oh, this is Guyana, right? This is our beautiful country. Right?
Yeah.
Now, anybody in their right mind know what they're watching right now is not Guyana. Right? That is the opposition leader right there. Showing the people in the Sapphire area that this is 40% of Guyana. Where we living in poverty. He stand up behind he head office. Y'all understand what I tell y'all?
Yeah, I looked at this. I saw this online.
That is his head office. He's standing up behind. I'm proudly showing it as a representation of Guyana.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I could honestly say this is parts of Guyana.
Yeah.
And not the part that he went and showed the world.
Yeah.
Guyana is one of the only place that have mansion.
The real mansion.
This is a man house. You understand, man? This is a man house. How possible did we come to achieve these things?
Yeah, there's a question I was coming to ask. Where's the possibilities, or how can you give the recipe of possibilities to get one of those? Can you want one of those, bro?
Well, here's what I'm saying. I just put me nice suit to the arm. Mr. President, I just put in an application for a house like yesterday.
Hey, coming, but
I'm serious here, yeah. Let me beg. I put in for a house like yesterday, and I understand that it is a process and things will take a little time, right? But please, I have several ideas of business in the private security field. Yes, I'm able to help when y'all call. I'm actually going to be one of the person if Venezuela decides for jumping Guyana instead of taking it. I ready. I just went to renew my passport, by the way, just so y'all know. So I ready to come back home and fight for we country as a true patriot, right? That's one. I control a private security company, right? Whereby I have training from America and I got people with skill training. I got people from the FBI, the CIA and everything working with me, right? To better myself and my company as a private security service in Guyana and in America. So I got a little knowledge. Me stop it now. My jacket black na me. My hair straight under this turban, by the way. Right? Coolly like my mother one straight though. So I just gotta let the people know who's me, right? Properly so they could understand. But you see the nice house where we just show up and say, sure, we want one. I want one. No. I like me one house. You want house. Sure, we want house. I got 4 children. I want an acre land for each child. Please and thank you. I can start building right away.
That's how much? 5 acres?
No, I just want 4. It's 4. Well, I plan. Let me beg properly. You gotta beg with sense, right? I plan to have 13 children because I have a big vision for myself and me. Remember?
13. I want real picnic, right? Really? 13 picnic.
You ain't gotta give me 13. Give me 7.5 acres of land, right? For each child, and we're gonna divide it up and we're gonna start building business. And, I'm able to provide jobs for our fellow Guyanese. I will be able to import people from different countries also, right? So we could have a better and thriving, developed economy, like what we're looking for. Remember, is with the brother said early 2025 by 2025. I there, right? If we could have that by 2025, I would be grateful.
I say, I say you had bag water after that. but all in all, I think we had a great conversation tonight.
Yeah, definitely.
We again, for those people who may not have seen the entirety of the conversation, we were dealing with a particular issue this evening, which had to do really with because the president has visited places in Brooklyn, New York, which were owned by Afro-Guyanese who are obviously supporters of the opposition party. There was a big hullabaloo. I call it cannibalizing themselves because they're calling for the boycott of one of their very own supporters' businesses, which I think is foolish at many levels. Also, the whole disrespect of the president of Guyana, which I think it really points to the level at which our so-called leaders of the black community say they are representing, in my estimation, that's no representation at all, because that type of behavior, that kind of aspersions and lashing out at the president for visiting the community, really shows the level of their mindset. You know, that would be my closing comments for this evening.
Yeah, well, definitely, I'd be most happy to see Guyana move to a place where we stop looking at the past stigma of one particular party is representing one set of faces, and start looking at, as per parties, we representing the people, because there've been so many crossovers, and been so many mix up and mixes going on because of youths just feeling to themselves that this is where I feel comfortable, and it's not more of what I look like.
It's not about policy; it's just about what I
Correct.
look like. So it should
So
be more about policy and not
it
what I
should
look
be it should be into that place of we thinking about the democracy of the country. I mean, making it a better place, and also allowing our real personalities to calm down. The personalities that is leading you into the direction of trying to mislead, and just allow folks to give their own or have their own opinions and act in their own ways of how they feel comfortable, and I mean, get around what they want to get around with. If you're not comfortable, of course, that's just for that point in time, but after that, the love should still be there for each and every person, or together we still should have that love for each other, and figure out how we can actually be a better people. Straight
Yep.
up.
Yep.
Well, I got a little bit of a mouthful. I don't believe we as young people should be subscribing to anything that is not ethically inclined, right? If you notice somebody in got proper morals, values, as we know, Guyana is a bribery system. And if you're part of that system, you should want to change that because you're suffering.
Yeah.
I am a part of that system, so I do want to change that because I don't want to continue to suffer, right? And I do plan to run for office one day. Might not be tomorrow. No, I very seriously must take me word serious, Midgie. I do plan to run for office. I don't believe.
Man, serious, but you think sure.
You see how I'm a nice guy, me flag and me thing, and I come nice looking, presentable this day. Alright. I begging for me house lot, me industrial sites, I could build me business them properly. I want our country to thrive, Midgie, because here's what I tell people are selfish, right? Me selfish for you, I selfish for me. I greedy for me. I want to see my country do good. I want to see my country on top. Not for you, not for Malachi, not for nobody else, but for me cheering them.
Yeah.
And because I want to see that, that is going to help my children to be better at the end. Because me bringing out no dunce. You understand me? I bringing out thriving second generation Guyanese people who looking for me youth them done already want to come back home. And they're born in America. You see the difference in thinking with people? When we got big people from Guyana running on the political asylum and such pretense, overstaying their visa and these sort of things, the government need to look into them thing properly, yeah? Just saying.
Yeah.
But we got people running out of Guyana and then looking back at Guyana and saying, y'all doing wrong. And this is what I want. But you left and you did nothing.
No, he's supposed to stay and make a change. That's how it works.
So I left Guyana at a young age, not by choice, because I had to follow me mother. But I choosing to go back to Guyana to make betterment for myself and my children and for the fellow Guyanese.
Oh, it's only a couple of days you there up in America there. Don't let it couple of days there, okay.
No, but I was able to, this is the thing, right? I come here, it's 10 years it take me for learn years. Well, don't let me even talk around. But America is a capitalist system, and these men is functional for money. When I come back to the airport, the lady asked me, the immigration asked me, "Are you bringing back any money, sir?" I said, "No, ma'am." She said, "You spent all." I said, "I live here. I have cards." They even tell you I left me money down there, or I kind of money. No, you want too much of me business. No. I live here, mom. I live here in America. She said, "I know, I could see it." I said, "No."
She wanted like you went to make some bread and come back.
Let me not tell you that.
Where's our cut of that bread? You look like
me not tell you that America's smart. Even in living in Guyana, I still gotta report me taxes. That I make money in Guyana. Plus, I still gotta report taxes in Guyana. You see all these people mashing you? We need to understand. Fellow Guyanese, my name is Martin Almein Barrow. I am here for you, for the people, by the people, of course.
By the people. He represents his democracy itself.
Well, I will take that.
Folks, it's always a pleasure being here.
Yeah, man.
Tonight, we are from 7 until. Hope you had a great discussion with us. And of course, let's think about coming together as Guyanese in Guyana and the diaspora and looking at Guyana, the true development and not true division, but togetherness is it. One people, one nation, one destiny. All right. Exactly. Good evening. Have a great evening. Come on. Bless.
Stars among stars. We. Lights, camera, someone.